The rain came down in sheets that Tuesday afternoon, the kind of steady autumn rain that makes you remember every umbrella you've ever lost. Daniel Warren stood outside Sunshine Academy Daycare, his dark suit jacket already soaked through, searching the crowd of yellow raincoats for his daughter, Emma. Daniel was 42, a CEO of a mid-sized tech company, with dark hair starting to show threads of silver at the temples. He'd been raising Emma alone for 3 years now, ever since his wife passed. The juggling act of board meetings and parent-teacher conferences had worn grooves into his life, but he'd learned to manage, mostly. Today, however, his assistant had called in sick. His afternoon meeting had run long, and he was 20 minutes late for pickup. The guilt sat heavy in his chest as he scanned the sea of children. There, a small figure in a bright yellow raincoat, hood up, standing alone by the gate. The right size, the right coat? Daniel hurried over, gently taking the small hand. "I'm so sorry I'm late." "Sweetheart," he said softly, leading the child toward his car. "Let's get you home and warmed up." The little one didn't say much, which wasn't entirely unusual when Emma was tired. Daniel buckled the child into the car seat, grateful to be out of the rain. It wasn't until they were halfway home, stopped at a red light, that he glanced in the rearview mirror and felt his heart stop. The child had pushed back her hood. Brown eyes stared back at him, not blue, a dusting of freckles across a small nose he didn't recognize. This wasn't Emma. "Oh no," Daniel breathed, pulling carefully into a parking lot. He turned around, his mind racing. "Sweetheart, I think I've made a terrible mistake." "What's your name?" "Lily," the little girl said calmly, as if being picked up by strange men happened every day. "Are you my new daddy?" Daniel's heart broke a little at the question. "No, honey." "No, I'm not." "I thought you were my daughter Emma. You have the same raincoat." He fumbled for his phone, already dialing the daycare with shaking hands. The line rang once, twice, then a breathless woman's voice. "Sunshine Academy. This is Daniel Warren. I accidentally picked up the wrong child. I'm so sorry. I have a little girl named Lily and—" "You have Lily?" The woman's voice cracked with relief. "Oh, thank God, this is Margaret Chen. I'm Lily's mother. They just told me she's missing." "Where are you?" Daniel gave her the location, his professional composure crumbling. "I am so sorry. I saw the yellow raincoat and I just assumed—" "The parking lot on Maple Street? I know it. I'll be there in 5 minutes, please. Please just stay with her." Those 5 minutes felt like an hour. Daniel sat in the back seat with Lily, who seemed remarkably unfazed by the whole situation. She told him about her day, about the painting she made, about how her mommy sometimes got confused too. "One time," Lily said with the serious tone children use when imparting great wisdom, "Mommy put orange juice in her coffee instead of milk. She made a really funny face." Despite everything, Daniel smiled. "My Emma once put her shoes on the wrong feet and walked around all morning before I noticed." When Margaret's car pulled up, Daniel saw a woman in her late 30s leap out, her light blue dress damp with rain, brown hair falling loose from a hasty ponytail. Her face was pale with worry, but her eyes, warm brown eyes like her daughter's, held something beyond panic. Relief, yes, but also understanding. Daniel stepped out with Lily, who immediately called, "Mommy!" and ran to her mother's arms. Margaret held her daughter close, eyes squeezed shut, before looking up at Daniel. He braced himself for anger, for accusations, for everything he deserved. Instead, she said quietly, "You thought she was your daughter?" It wasn't a question. Daniel nodded, feeling the weight of the mistake settle on him. "I'm Daniel Warren. My daughter Emma has the same raincoat. I was late, I was rushing, and I wasn't paying attention. There's no excuse." Margaret studied him for a long moment, still holding Lily. "You were in a hurry to get to your child." "That's not a crime, Mr. Warren. That's being a parent." "I could have—" Daniel's voice caught. "Anything could have happened." But it didn't. Margaret's voice was firm but gentle. "You kept her safe. You called immediately. And look," she gestured to Lily, who was now explaining the adventure to her mother in great detail. "She's fine. Maybe a little too fine," Margaret added with a small smile. Back at the daycare, they found Emma sitting with a teacher. Tears dried on her cheeks. Daniel dropped to his knees, pulling his daughter into his arms. "Daddy," Emma whispered, "I thought you forgot me." "Never," Daniel promised, his own eyes stinging. Never, sweetheart. Daddy made a mistake, but I could never forget you. Mrs. Patterson, the daycare director, approached with careful apologies and promises to review their pickup procedures. Margaret stood nearby with Lily's hand in hers, watching quietly. As Daniel prepared to leave with Emma, Margaret touched his arm gently. "Mr. Warren?" He turned, expecting delayed anger or at least a formal goodbye. Instead, she said, "These things happen. We're all doing our best, and sometimes our best includes mistakes. But the measure of a person isn't in never falling. It's in how they handle it when they do. You handled it well." Daniel felt something shift in his chest. "Thank you, that's very gracious." "I'm a nurse," Margaret said simply. "I see people on their worst days." You'd be surprised how much kindness matters. Over the next few weeks, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about the woman in the rain. Not in any dramatic way, but in the quiet moments, when Emma talked about her new friend Lily at daycare, when he passed the parking lot on Maple Street, when the rain fell and he remembered warm brown eyes and unexpected grace. He started arriving at pickup a few minutes early. Not to see Margaret, he told himself, just to be on time. But his heart would lift when he'd spot her there, trading tired smiles with other parents, Lily's hand in hers. Sometimes their eyes would meet, sometimes they'd nod. Once, when the rain started again, they stood under the daycare awning together, watching their daughters play. "Emma talks about Lily constantly," Daniel mentioned. "Lily, too," Margaret replied. "Apparently Emma shares her crackers at snack time." "That's high praise. Emma loves her crackers." They both laughed, the kind of laugh that acknowledges the small absurdities of parenting. "Mr. Warren," Margaret said after a moment. "Daniel, please." "Daniel?" She smiled. "Would you and Emma like to come to Lily's birthday party next month? It's just a small thing at the park, but Lily's been asking." Daniel felt that shift in his chest again, like a door opening to let light in. "We'd love to." At the party, Daniel watched Margaret organize games, distribute cake and comfort a child who'd scraped their knee, all with the calm efficiency of someone who'd learned to carry more than they'd ever planned. He recognized it because he saw it in the mirror. Later, when the girls were playing on the swings, Margaret sat beside him on a bench. "Can I tell you something?" she asked quietly. "Of course. That day when you picked up Lily by mistake? I'd been having the hardest week. Nothing major. Just the accumulation of 1,000 small challenges. Being a single parent, working long shifts, feeling like I was failing at everything." She paused. "But then I saw how panicked you were, how much you cared that you'd made a mistake with someone else's child. And I thought, maybe we're all just trying our best. Maybe that's enough." Daniel turned to look at her. "You're raising an amazing little girl. That's more than enough." "So are you," Margaret said softly. "Emma is lucky to have you." They sat in comfortable silence, watching their daughters laugh together. Two children who'd found each other because of a yellow raincoat and a rainy afternoon. Sometimes Daniel would reflect, the best things in life come from our mistakes. Not because the mistakes were good, but because they teach us grace. They teach us that perfection isn't the goal. Connection is. Kindness is. Showing up, even when we're afraid we've gotten it all wrong. 6 months later, on another rainy Tuesday, Daniel stood outside the daycare with an extra umbrella. When Margaret arrived, slightly breathless and 5 minutes late, he held it out to her. "Just in case," he said, with a smile that held 3 years of loneliness finally beginning to ease. Margaret took it, her hand brushing his. "Thank you." They walked to the pickup area together. Two people who'd learned that sometimes life's greatest gifts come, wrapped in yellow raincoats and autumn rain, delivered by mistake into exactly the right hands. The girls ran to them, chattering about their day. And as the four of them walked toward the parking lot, 2 children, 2 parents, 2 umbrellas now shared. Daniel thought about grace and second chances and how the measure of a life isn't in never falling, but in finding the strength to rise and the wisdom to help someone else up along the way. That evening, as he tucked Emma into bed, she asked, "Daddy, are you happy?" Daniel thought about Margaret's smile, about Lily's laughter, about the way his life had unexpectedly opened up, to include more love than he'd thought possible again. "Yes, sweetheart," he said honestly. "I really am." Outside, the rain fell softly. a gentle sound that no longer spoke of loneliness, but of renewal, of mistakes forgiven and hearts mended, of yellow raincoats and the beautiful, complicated grace of simply being human.